Right now on Good Morning America First Look, landslide disaster. People running for their lives as a wall of water destroys everything in its path, including this border crossing. Dozens of Americans among hundreds of people now missing in Nepal. What triggered the catastrophic flood? We hear from a man who was there.
A rare visit, what we have learned about why the CIA director traveled to Moscow for talks, plus new revelations about Chinese hackers targeting U.S. government agencies.
The changes coming to Instagram and Facebook now that Meta has settled the social media addiction trial and who's now criticizing the $18 billion deal.
The landmark approval of a drug to treat one of the deadliest types of cancer. Could it treat other cancer patients as well?
A victory for opponents of flock license plate tracking cameras.
The new wave fans want to honor Dolly Parton.
The rare kind of shark spotted off the U.S. coastline.
And the dangerous way these goslings are being forced to leave the nest.
From ABC News, this is Good Morning America First Look.
And good Thursday morning, everyone. I'm Marcus Moore in for Sophie.
And I'm Hannah Batal. We begin with the flood disaster unfolding in Nepal and the terrifying images of a wall of water slamming into villages.
Hundreds of people are feared dead and dozens of Americans are among the missing. This morning, haunting images of people running for their lives as a deadly torrent of water and earth tore through this valley in Nepal along the Tibet border. The roar of debris drowning out screams of horror. Entire villages swept away. Areas where homes and businesses once stood are now buried under mountains of mud and debris. Overnight, more than 160 people were confirmed dead. But hundreds are unaccounted for, including 47 Americans. Darren Jacklin is touring Nepal. He was at the now destroyed border crossing just hours earlier and is thankful to be alive.
I thought to myself, where would I have ran when I was there? What's my exit points? And I'm thinking to myself, there's nowhere I could go. There's just mountains all around us.
An urgent search and rescue operation now underway to find people trapped or swept away. Crews rescuing people stuck in the mud. This helicopter perilously plucking a man to safety. This man saying he was on the terrace and the flood hit the top floor as well. It only subsided after an hour or so, he said. He said, my wife is already buried in the mudslide while we stayed on the terrace for safety. After 4 to 5 hours, he said, I was rescued by a helicopter. The wall of water speeding down that mountain at more than 40 miles per hour. The energy equivalent to a 5.2 magnitude earthquake. Experts say it was triggered by a massive landslide hitting a glacier and melting tons of ice along the way.
When all this rock comes down, has a lot of energy, it warms up that ice, creates more waters.
Among the missing Americans, 22 people in a group from Tennessee taking part in a spiritual pilgrimage.
The phones have been, ringing off the hook. I was with one of the families earlier today to support them in any way that we can right now. It's been very shocking to us.
And we have just learned that the number of Americans missing has now risen to 65. The State Department is helping with the response effort.
We're learning more about why CIA Director John Ratcliffe traveled to Moscow this week. Sources say Ratcliffe made the rare visit to warn Russian officials not to attack any members of NATO as Russia struggles with the ongoing stalemate in Ukraine. The situation in Ukraine has sparked concern that Russia could target other nations in the region, like Lithuania or Latvia. Sources say Iran was also a topic of discussion during Ratcliffe's visit.
The FBI says a hacking group backed by China has been taking aim at U.S. government agencies. The Justice Department, NASA, the U.S. Senate, and the Federal Reserve are among hundreds of organizations targeted. Officials say they've seized internet domains and disrupted China's cyber campaign, but they warn the hackers are relentless. China's president visits the White House next month.
Now to a major development in the case against the so-called mastermind of the September 11th attacks. After decades of waiting, 9/11 families may soon get justice. Here's ABC's Karen Hua.
This morning, as the nation soon prepares to mark 25 years since the September 11th attacks, a trial date has finally been set for the accused mastermind A military judge has ruled Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, known as KSM, will stand trial on June of 2028, along with 3 alleged accomplices. CIA and Pakistani intelligence teams captured KSM in Pakistan in 2003. He was waterboarded in CIA custody before being moved to Guantanamo Bay in 2006. Then, 18 years later, in 2024, a bombshell on the case. The government agreed to offer a plea deal that would have spared KSM the death penalty. Many families of 9/11 victims were outraged.
The government is failing us.
Others saw the deal as the only ending this case might ever get.
I don't believe that the plea agreements were anything other than the best outcome we were ever likely to achieve.
But the plea deal would not be made because 2 days later, then Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin stepped in and rejected it, putting the case back in motion and putting the death penalty back on the table. Now, with the trial set, one major question remains to be settled: whether prosecutors can use what KSM told the FBI after years in secret CIA prisons. Prosecutors say his statements are crucial evidence, but the defense claims they're tainted by torture. This case had a trial date once before, back in 2021, but it was canceled after the judge retired and because of travel restrictions due to the pandemic. Marcus?
Karen, thank you for that. Authorities at Chicago's O'Hare Airport want to know why so many planes are suffering blown tires. The latest, an American Airlines jet blowing 2 tires while preparing to take off for Charlotte yesterday. It's the 4th blown tire incident at O'Hare this month.
Now to the settlement in the social media addiction trial. We're learning more about what will happen now to Facebook and Instagram. Here's ABC's Andrew Fujii.
This morning, Meta is preparing to make changes to its Instagram and Facebook apps after agreeing to pay up to $18 billion to settle a case in which it was accused of deliberately addicting children to its platforms.
This is a milestone resolution. It is a milestone moment.
Attorneys general of 48 states claim the company used its technology to entice, engage, and ultimately ensnare youth and teens. Meta admitted no wrongdoing, but said, "We want to get this right for parents and teens." Among those reacting to the settlement, Victoria Hinks, who says her daughter died by suicide after getting addicted to social media.
I felt like today was finally something was done.
In the next 6 months, Meta has agreed to make these changes for Instagram and Facebook users under 18. Limit daily time on the apps for 2 hours. Block the apps from midnight to 6 a.m., hide like counts, and ban some beauty filters.
What they do and what they commit to is what we're focused on, making sure that kids are safer, healthier, that harm is reduced, that the anxiety, depression, body image issues, addiction, addictive traits, and learning loss at that end.
But not everyone is happy. Florida refused to join the settlement, its attorney general saying this agreement is nothing more than a slap on the wrist for a $1 trillion corporation that has already paid more to its lawyers than it will pay the states. We'll see them at trial.
$18 billion sounds like a lot of money, but for Meta, last year they made $200 billion in revenue, and after the settlement was announced, their stock price went up to increase the company's market value by more than $18 billion.
Regarding those changes, Meta is promising to track teenagers who try to get around the protections by creating new accounts. Meanwhile, the company is not done in court. It continues to fight thousands of other lawsuits. Hannah, Marcus.
Andrea, thank you for that. A breakthrough in the fight against pancreatic cancer. The FDA has approved a new drug, a targeted drug called Razalq. It was found to slow tumor growth and potentially prolong life in patients with advanced pancreatic cancer, doubling the average survival rate in clinical trials. Scientists hope it can be used someday to treat other cancers that have the same gene mutation.
A rare sight off Florida's Gulf Coast. That's a lemon shark with a rare genetic mutation that results in a partial loss of pigmentation. Lemon sharks typically have a solid yellowish brown back. Researchers say that shark's condition has only been documented about 24 times in the wild. Time now for your Thursday weather.
Good morning. Tracking a severe weather threat from D.C. to Albany today and a flood threat from New York City into Philly. This will be in the afternoon into the evening hours. Heat continues in the west. Record heat from Las Vegas all the way to Albuquerque. This heat spreads across the country, southern tier of the country into parts of the southeast. Most comfortable time of day, middle of the night. In fact, tonight, midnight, just after, there's a near total lunar eclipse. Best viewing will be from the Great Lakes into the Tennessee Valley. Also some holes in the overcast southwest into the northwest. Unfortunately, the East Coast, a lot of clouds and some showers. That's your forecast. I'm ABC News senior meteorologist Lee Goldberg.
Coming up, a big change in the NFL.
But first, what jurors will soon consider today in the trial of the Massachusetts mother accused of killing her 3 children.
And why a federal judge cited Dolly Parton to explain his ruling in a closely watched legal battle. We're back now with a crucial day in the Lindsay Clancy murder trial. Jurors will begin deliberating the fate of the Massachusetts mother accused of killing her 3 children.
This morning, closing arguments are expected in the murder trial of Lindsay Clancy. After weeks of testimony from dueling medical experts, the prosecution has rested its rebuttal case. The final witness, Dr. Gregory Sathoff, pushed back on Clancy's claim that a voice ordered her to kill her 3 children.
Command hallucinations, when they occur, do not propel an individual to automatically obey them. And in fact, many people will engage in behaviors to stop the actions that the voice is claiming.
But the defense argues Clancy was in the grip of severe postpartum psychosis and had been vocal about her mental state.
She was complaining not just to her physicians, but she was complaining to people in her community that she was having intrusive thoughts.
Jurors could get the case later today and will decide whether Clancy is not guilty by reason of insanity.
The jury would have to accept that at the time in which Lindsay Clancy killed her 3 children, not necessarily before, not necessarily after, but at the time when she did it, she did not understand nor have the ability to understand right from wrong or conform her actions to being right.
Jurors could also find her guilty of 1st or 2nd degree murder. Both would carry a life sentence, one with the possibility of parole. A manslaughter verdict could mean 20 years in prison.
If she's found not criminally responsible, she'll be committed to a psychiatric hospital.
The Attorney General in Texas is vowing to appeal after a judge struck down a state law restricting drag shows. The judge ruled the ban on sexually oriented performances violates the First Amendment. And he referenced Dolly Parton to make his point, saying, quote, just as many people chastise Dolly Parton as a voluptuous sex symbol, there are erotic elements in countless popular performances that could be subject to penalties under the ban. The judge adding that the solution is simple. He said, just don't go to the drag show if you're offended.
A big change by the NFL. Fans can now say goodbye to the Pro Bowl. The league's annual All-Star event has been eliminated after years of declining viewership, but 88 players will still earn the honor of being a Pro Bowler each year.
All right, coming up, tributes to the beloved actor Tim Curry after his death at the age of 80.
Also ahead, a victory for opponents of flock license plate tracking cameras.
How'd you do, see you've met my faithful hand in hand.
That is British actor Tim Curry in his best-known role as Dr. Frankenfurter in the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Curry's career spanned 5 decades on stage and on screen, and his roles included the frustrated concierge in Home Alone 2, who could forget? Curry suffered a stroke in 2012 and died Tuesday at the age of 80. Carol Burnett, his co-star in Annie, said nobody could play lovable villains better than Tim Curry.
Bryan Kohberger has been granted a new hearing in his long-shot bid to take back his guilty plea in the killing of 4 Idaho college students. The judge who sentenced Kohberger to life in prison has now set a hearing for June of next year. Kohberger is seeking to withdraw his plea based on his claim that his lawyers manipulated him.
New developments in the controversy over license plate tracking cameras being used by police across the country. Now the U.S. Senate is asking questions. This morning, the company behind the cameras watching America's roads is now under investigation by Congress. In a letter to the CEO of Flock Safety, Missouri Senator Hawley accuses the company of building an unprecedented national surveillance network, saying Congress never authorized the network your industry has built. Flock's license plate reader cameras photograph every passing vehicle and enter the information into a database that police can search, no warrant needed. More than 120,000 have been installed in 49 states. No Flock anymore! Triggering protests over privacy. The cameras have been vandalized in many states. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis says the surveillance system is out of control.
At what point are we just going to be free to not have to deal with any of that?
Senator Bernie Sanders saying we cannot allow America to become a surveillance state. Police officers from Georgia to Ohio have also been accused of misusing the technology for personal use. One officer is accused of using the cameras to track her boyfriend's ex-wife more than 30 times. Flock CEO says the company is taking steps to crack down on misuse. He says the cameras are a critical crime-fighting tool.
We helped in over 1 million crimes last year, over 10,000 missing people.
Flock says it will soon respond to Senator Hawley's letter. Meanwhile, a nonprofit has started a database of local governments canceling Flock contracts.
Coming up, a wild coincidence involving Dolly Parton.
Plus, an unexpected delay in the major leagues.
Working 9 to 5, what a way to make a living.
Time to check the pulse. We begin with fans working 9 to 5 to show their appreciation for Dolly Parton.
Yeah, they are listening to her music in record numbers now. Total streams on Spotify have surged more than 2,000% since her death. Jolene has the most streams, followed by I Will Always Love You.
Yeah, a push to rename the Nashville airport after Dolly is gaining momentum. A petition for a name change quickly gained 50,000 signatures right after her death. Fans in Connecticut are paying tribute with this corn maze. The maze celebrating Dolly and her Imagination Library program stretches across 6 acres.
And finally, this unintended tribute, the next tropical storm in the Atlantic will be named Dolly. Timing, of course, just a coincidence as that name was chosen years ago.
Next, you could say things are getting wild at the Mets games these days.
A squirrel was last night's visitor, running onto a cable before getting onto the field. The announcers following its every move.
A squirrel who was going nuts a little earlier now has gone loco. There's animal control on the premises. That poor squirrel, he's so scared.
There's no escape right now.
Announcers never at a loss of words. It caused a brief delay, then it left the field before coming back and climbing on another wire. Just last week at that same ballpark, a raccoon was causing problems, reaching through a hole for peanuts and shells. All right, next, it's not easy to leave the nest.
Yeah, especially if you live on the edge of a building. A worker at National Geographic posted this video of volunteers catching a baby gosling who was born on the terrace of a building in Washington and had to get down. The volunteers moved the babies in a cage as their parents followed behind.
And finally, a favorite summer tradition, the big tomato fight in Spain. It takes place on the last Wednesday of August. About 20,000 people there throwing more than 300,000 pounds of tomatoes.
Checking our top stories, more than 1,300 people are missing after a landslide triggered this catastrophic flood along the border of Nepal and Tibet. 65 Americans are among the missing, including more than 20 people from a Tennessee group on a pilgrimage to the area. An urgent rescue effort is underway to find people trapped in the debris.
Despite criticism from ranchers across the country, President Trump has moved forward with suspending tariffs on imported ground beef. His move is aimed at helping to lower prices for American consumers.
One of the world's most celebrated and best-selling artists has died. Yayoi Kusama was best known for her polka dot sculptures. She was 97.
And the president of the NCAA is speaking out against former NFL players returning to college for a 5th year of college ball. NCAA President Charlie Baker says it will take opportunities away from others. The Big Ten, the SEC, and the Big 12 say they will ban pros from returning.
Today's weather, severe storms from D.C. to New York, storms also in the plains, and extreme heat from Phoenix to L.A.
And finally this morning, a lucky cat to have 9 lives.
Here's Danny New.
I mean, she was the size of my fist.
And stuck the landing. Chase Guello and his brother Clay were pre-checking their equipment before working on an Ohio dam a few weeks ago.
There's a cat stuck in a Komatsu.
When they realized their Komatsu brand excavator may have actually been made by Cat.
I start listening around and I'm looking down and there's a kitten all the way down, way in the base turret of this machine.
So Chase crawled underneath to unscrew the skid plates, which he says he had to kick open because each panel weighs about 100 pounds. Then this 2-week-old kitty, now named Sue, short for Komatsu, came screaming into their lives.
There you go.
But once they got her some milk, they say baby Sue became much more calm. And once these videos, of course, picked up millions of views on social media, Komatsu North America just had to send Sue her own construction outfit, complete with a reflective vest and hard hat with holes for her little ears.
When you saw that, what was your reaction?
I was smiling ear to ear.
Now, after a few weeks in foster care, Sue has officially been adopted into the home of Chase's shop mechanic, Jared, and his 2 boys, where Sue has quickly emerged as an apex predator. Hunting wild animals in the living room and even the spinner from a game of Twister. Thankfully, though, she does seem much more relaxed when she's playing with her excavator toys. But guys, Sue's new dad has been making sure to bring her into the office every Friday so she can say hello to her old friends.
Something about the cat in the hard hat gets me every time.
I was going to say the hard hat and the vest.
So good. That's your Good Morning America First Look.